Welcome to the ESSG Safety Management Systems webinar Module 1. This is the first in a series of weekly webinars that you can access through our ESSG Free Zone as part of our Safety Management System or SMS series. This series is designed to break down the elements of the Safety Management System into small, bite-sized portions. Each weekly webinar will only be 10 to 20 minutes long with action items for you to focus on each week. We believe that incremental improvements keep you focused and will add up to significant changes over time. For instance, if you focus on improving your SMS system just 1% each week, you will look up at the end of the year and realize that you have improved over 50%. Also, small incremental changes are more likely to stick. It gives you and your organization time to adjust and internalize those changes. Hopefully you've completed the online SMS quiz and determined a baseline score for your organization. If you have not, please make sure that you do. It will really help during this series and provide you a way to measure your improvements. To do so, simply go to ESSG.com and look for Safety Sam. You'll see him on our homepage. Also, if you have any friends, colleagues, etc. that would benefit from this free resource, please help us to make the world a safer place. Whether your SMS score was a home run or you have more work to do to improve your safety management system, we hope that you will gather important information about what a safety management system is and how to go about planning and executing an effective plan to reduce accidents and losses and improve your bottom line. Our course objectives for this webinar are to help you gain an understanding of why a safety management system is a strategic business step, the benefits of a well-executed safety management system, the basic theories behind accident costs and causation, the differences between values and priorities as they apply to workplace safety, the differences between reactive and proactive approaches to workplace safety, the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle of continuous improvement, and the elements of the ESSG Safety Management System program. My name is Leslie Stockel, and I will be your guide through this and all of the following on-demand webinars designed to help you figure out what you need to do to improve your safety system at your company. You can see that I have worked with a wide variety of industries and have several years of experience in developing and improving safety management systems. My goal as your instructor is to provide you with all the tools you will need to be successful. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. So you may still be asking yourself, what is this thing they call a safety management system? Isn't safety just about being careful and using common sense? Well, unfortunately, a lot of people feel that way, and it's way more complicated than that. Research has shown over the last 100 years that just saying you'll be careful doesn't actually work towards preventing accidents in the workplace. Numerous studies have been conducted in all types of industries, and the results indicate a specific set of policies, programs, and actions that must be adopted in order to truly achieve a workplace that will minimize risk and protect workers from harm. But let's pause for a moment before we dig into those specifics and talk about the why. Why should any of us care about safety? We can all agree that accidents cost money and so much more. Liberty Mutual reports that the direct cost of workplace accidents amounts to $62 billion a year. That's over $1 billion a week. If you look at the image of the iceberg, you can see that above the surface there is a much smaller area than what is lurking below that can't be seen. The cost of accidents is very similar to this iceberg in that the direct costs of an accident are things that we can and immediately see after an accident occurs. These costs can be things like hospital and doctor bills or lost time wages that must be paid to the injured worker. But lurking below the surface are many more indirect costs that we may not be able to easily quantify or collect data on. These are things like property damage, lost time by employees and supervisors to investigate the accident, overtime wages that must be paid to other workers to cover for the person who was injured, retraining additional workers, hiring new workers, a loss of productivity, a loss of goodwill in the community, and a loss of reputation, which could lead to an inability to bid on future jobs or retain or acquire new customers. And it's estimated that for every $1 spent on direct cost, that anywhere between $4 and $20 are lost on indirect cost. So that $62 billion a year in direct cost equates to between $248 billion and $1.2 trillion lost due to workplace accidents. That money lost means companies cannot expand, hire more workers, give raises, or invest in their future growth. These costs are also spread back to the consumer in terms of higher prices and higher taxes. So it makes business sense to invest in our safety management system, but let's not forget about the emotional toll that accidents take on the families. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, spouses, life partners, and friends are all impacted when someone gets hurt at work. We all have someone in our lives who we love and who loves us and would be devastated if we were not to come home from work one day. Safety management systems are important to keep people safe so that people can go home at the end of the day the same way they came to work each day, and so that their families and loved ones can be confident and feel safe and secure that they are not going to be injured at work. So let's talk for a minute about the causes of accidents. There have been several studies conducted between 1931 and 2003 that found that there is a ratio of catastrophic accidents to minor accidents that forms a triangle or a pyramid. That means that for every worker death, there are many more less severe accidents that act as precursors. In 1931, Herbert Heinrich did a study of industrial accidents and found that for every major injury, there were 29 minor accidents and then 300 no-injury accidents. In 1969, a study of industrial accidents was undertaken by Frank Bird of the Insurance Company of North America. There, Bird analyzed 1.7 million accidents reported by 297 cooperating companies. Bird found that for every reported major injury resulting in fatality, lost time, or medical treatment, there were 9.8 reported minor injuries requiring only first aid. And for the 95 companies that further analyzed major injuries in their reporting, the ratio was 1 lost time injury per 15 medical treatment injuries. In 2003, ConocoPhillips Marine Division conducted a similar study demonstrating a large difference in the ratio of serious accidents and near misses. The study found that for every single fatality, there are at least 300,000 at-risk behaviors or conditions. But the root causes of all of these failures, whether they be a fatal accident or a near miss or an at-risk behavior or condition, is that there was a failure of the management system. Unfortunately, most companies only look at the accidents that actually cause a loss, as indicated in the dotted line shown here. Additionally, addressing accidents at the top of the pyramid is a reactive response to failure and cannot be changed. If we could address hazards and risks at the bottom of the pyramid, we could be more proactive in our efforts of prevention. The last sad truth is that many times the only factor that determines the outcome of these accidents is luck. An event that could be a near miss today with no injury or loss could occur in the very same way tomorrow and result in a serious injury or worse, death. If we are only looking at the top half of the pyramid, we are missing many opportunities to prevent an accident. So if you don't have very many accidents at your location, you should ask yourself, are you really safe or are you just lucky? One of the most important aspects of an effective safety management system is the way in which leaders and employees view safety. Many companies like to say that safety is a priority. It's a top priority or a number one priority in their organization. There's a problem with this statement because if you look at the definition of a priority, it is a thing that is regarded as important as more important than another. Well, that sounds great, right? But the problem is when you say that safety is number one, what you were really saying is that something else is number two or three or four. Even if we have the best of intentions, our priorities change throughout the day as we deal with unexpected issues that come up. So if we say that safety is our number one priority, what we're really saying is that in some point in time it won't be our number one priority. If you look at the definition of a value, it is a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what's important in life. So that might be a better way to look at safety. If we value safety, that means the health and safety of our workforce is something we consider to be a principle or standard of behavior, or it's important to our life, and therefore it doesn't change based on the urgencies or priorities of the moment. So before we start implementing a safety management system, we have to ask ourselves, as a company, what is it that we value? Many companies have vision statements or value statements that very specifically outline the core values of the company. So take a minute and think, what are your company's core beliefs and values? This slide is going to show you a typical history of the evolution of a safety program within a company. Some companies who don't have a safety management system may be in the swamp, or safety without a management plan. Companies in the swamp are typically described as not really having much of a safety program. In companies like this, production and the bottom line is usually the most important thing, and not much attention is paid to safety. There typically might not be any written safety procedures or safety training. When an accident happens, managers and leaders tend to react to it and typically blame the employee for not being careful. Typically, employees will say things like, safety is just common sense, or be careful is about the only instruction you get when it comes to working safely. If they do get inspected by OSHA or get fined by OSHA, they typically just pay the fine and move on and look at it as a cost of doing business. Companies like this will typically have very high accident rates, usually higher than their industry average, and also will have very high workers' compensation costs and premiums. Unfortunately, what tends to happen to companies in the swamp is they suffer a significant emotional or financial crisis, such as a catastrophic accident like a death, or they start to fail financially as a company, in part due to the high cost of accidents and low productivity and efficiency. It's at this point that a leader might have an awakening and say, we've got to do things differently, and hopefully see the value of safety. They might start to implement some basic safety programs, at which point they would move into the second category of the traditional safety program. A traditional safety program is one that you are probably familiar with. It's very focused on compliance with regulations or rules and may have most OSHA required programs in place. Many times, though, a company will say that safety is a top priority, but in reality, it falls second to production when push comes to shove. If a company has a safety professional on staff, they are viewed as the safety cop who is responsible for enforcing the rules and writing people up for noncompliance. Accidents may still be viewed as the fault of the employee. Companies with traditional safety programs may have a binder of safety procedures, but they may be out of date or inconsistently applied or not even applicable to the work being performed. But because of the basic changes made since the company was in the swamp, they probably have experienced a reduction in accidents, but they may also be experiencing a plateau and unable to make any significant improvements in safety performance. So the final stage is the most desirable one. This is when a company has a fully effective safety management system. In this stage, the leadership and employees have embraced safety as a value and have the mindset that no job is worth getting hurt and are willing to shut a job down for the sake of safety. This is called stop work authority, where every employee knows that they can shut a job down with no negative repercussions if they feel it is unsafe. The way of looking at safety changes from an add-on to my job to this is the way we do business. There is a belief that all accidents are preventable, and workers and supervisors actively engage in identification and risk reduction techniques. Supervisors and foremen become safety leaders and don't look to the safety professional to take care of safety for them, but utilize their safety professional as a partner and subject matter expert to help them solve problems. There is a mindset shift from we'll do it because OSHA says we have to we're going to do this because it's the right and safe thing to do. The company is not afraid of accidents and uses them as opportunities to learn without punishment or blame. Companies who have an effective safety management system often experience very low accident rates below their industry average or even zero. They aren't just lucky, they are good at safety. But in order to make the transition from traditional safety program to effective safety management system, there has to be a company culture to support it. We'll talk more about safety culture in Webinar 2, What is your safety culture? So that brings us back to the original question. What is a safety management system? The textbook definition is a systematic approach to managing safety, including organizational structures, accountabilities, policies, and procedures. That sounds very official, but what does it look like? Just like any aspect of operating a company, such as operations, maintenance, accounting, purchasing, or human resources, you have to have a plan for managing safety. Without a plan, you're just wandering around in the wilderness waiting for something to happen. And so a safety management system is a system, not a program. It's proactive versus reactive, and it focuses on never-ending continuous improvement. Let's discuss those three things in a little more detail. A traditional safety program usually has a manual of procedures in a binder on a shelf somewhere. You can even buy one off the internet that are your name here, safety procedures. The problem with these procedures is that they are not specific to your organization, tend to be out of date the moment they are printed, and no one ever reads them. That is a safety program. But if you think of a system like a manufacturing process where the raw materials come in, they are put through a series of processes in operation, and a final product comes out the end. Throughout that manufacturing process, measurements are taken, process parameters are established, and the system is checked over and over again to make sure that it's functioning as designed to deliver the final product as specified. That's how we should view safety. Not a program that has a shelf life, but a process that has key measurements that are checked over and over, and improvements and adjustments are made on an ongoing basis to ensure a good outcome. Safety is a process, not a system. It's a process and a system, not a program. We will learn more about how to measure the success of the system in webinar number 45, Tracking Safety Data. So in safety and health, a reactive response occurs after an injury or illness and usually has the purpose of minimizing the costs associated with the injury or illness. When management emphasizes a reactive approach to safety and health, it sends a negative message to employees. Reactive programs always cost more than proactive programs, always, because an injury or illness has occurred. Reactive programs kick in only after an accident has occurred. Some examples of reactive safety programs include attention is paid only after the accident occurs, right? We only get excited after something has happened, something bad. A reactive system looks to fix the blame, not the system, meaning we're trying to figure out whose fault it was instead of figuring out what happened and how can we prevent it. A lot of times in a reactive system, you'll see mandatory discipline after an accident. You'll see goals for zero accident goals, or everyone's focused on having no accidents rather than reducing risk. Employees tend to hide accidents in a reactive system because they're afraid of getting in trouble. And procedures are revised after an accident occurs. Sometimes you'll hear the saying, all of our safety procedures are written in blood. That's because we only change anything after an accident occurs. And then safety procedures tend to be compliance driven. They're only focused on complying with regulation, making sure that the regulation is covered. A reactive response to safety is a bit like playing whack-a-mole. You never get ahead of problems because you're always waiting for the next problem to rear its ugly head. On the other hand, A proactive approach to safety and health in the workplace takes place before an accident occurs. It anticipates and tries to prevent accidents. By emphasizing accident prevention, management sends a message of caring. This approach is always less expensive in the long term as a result of fewer accidents and injuries. Some examples of proactive safety and health programs include accident analysis to fix the system, not the blame. Safety committees or safety teams to get employee feedback on where the hazards are. Hazard analysis programs. Inspection and job hazards analysis of workplaces. Incentive and recognition programs that recognize reporting, suggestions, and improvement. Safety education programs must not be viewed as punishment, and accountability systems that do not tie disciplines to accidents. An important aspect of a proactive system is also that near misses are considered a gift because they are an opportunity to learn and improve without anybody getting hurt or any losses incurred. Accident investigations in a proactive system are fact-finding to find those root causes, not fault-finding. And leadership embraces change in safety and is constantly looking for ways to improve. And so you could kind of sum up a proactive system by saying the causes of tomorrow's accidents exist today, so we have to go out there and find them. And that's why we need to focus on a proactive system. And finally, a safety management system is a continuous improvement cycle, meaning that we are never going to be finished getting better in safety. The proactive continuous improvement cycle tends to come from the quality improvement world, but it has just as much application in safety. And what they use is called the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle of continuous improvement. It's a way to constantly be assessing and improving your safety management system. And here's what it looks like. First, you plan, where you recognize an opportunity and plan your change. And then you determine what specific actions need to be taken, put in place in order to improve. And then after you plan, you do. That's where you go out and implement your plan. You identify hazards and risk. You implement safety policies. You conduct training. You execute your improvement plan. And then after you do, you check. You look at all the things you've been working on and you see, is it working? You measure results. Through your accident investigation and near-miss investigations and inspections, you see, are these policies and procedures really working? Are the things that we are doing having an impact? That's how you check. And then you act. You review your performance over time. You look back over the last few months or the last year and you say, how did we do? How did our performance? Did it improve? What have we learned from our successes and our failures? And then we update and improve our action plan. And then we repeat that cycle over and over and over again. We plan, we do, we check, we act. We plan, we do, we check, we act. And there is no end, but over time, when you look back, you should see improvement over time. And so what are the benefits of a safety management system? Well, the ultimate goal, obviously, is we're going to have reduced injuries and illnesses through prevention. And this is going to lower our workers' compensation costs and premiums. We're also going to see improvements in productivity and efficiency with lower operating costs, less downtime, and improved quality of output. We're going to have improved workplace morale. We may experience lower absenteeism and turnover, and employee engagement leads to higher productivity. Our employees are going to be happier because they feel that management and leadership cares about them and cares about their safety. We're also going to see an improved industry reputation. We'll get the reputation in our neighborhood of being a good corporate citizen, and that will help us attract more customers, bid for more jobs, and overall improve our bottom line. And throughout this process, your culture will change. Now, I'm not going to promise you that this is going to be an easy journey, and you may actually suffer some setbacks along the way. But anything of value and worth has an element of difficulty to it. Don't you think your company and your employees are worth the effort? So one of the things that we've seen over time is that companies who implement excellent safety and health systems have an average of 50% fewer accidents than those who do not. How would you like to reduce your accidents by 50%? And so as you continue through our SMS system, we will be showing you how to implement an effective safety management system. The elements of a safety management system are management leadership, employee engagement, hazard identification, evaluation and control, operational safety and health programs, workplace design and engineering review, training, self-evaluation, and communication and documentation. Each one of these sections will be discussed in a series of 50 weekly webinars to help you understand what needs to be done. Additionally, if you choose to partner with ESSG with our SMS Step on the Gas service, we can help you develop a specific action plan and provide in-person or virtual consulting services to assist you in your journey. So the big question is, now that you know more about safety management systems, are you ready to take the next step? Do you want to reduce accidents in your workplace? Do you want to reduce your workers' compensation costs and increase your quality, production, and effectiveness? Do you want your employees to be happy, engaged, and feel like they have a voice in your organization? Do you want to gain a competitive advantage over others in your industry? Do you want to be a safety leader? If the answer is yes, then join us for the next step in your journey to safety success. Here are your action items for this week. You need to get leadership buy-in to implement a safety management system in your workplace. It's a good idea to maybe think about what it is that your company values and create a statement that reflects that. Do we value our people? Do we value production? Do we value our impact on the environment? Do we value our customers? What about quality? Think about how much risk your organization is willing to accept. Are you willing to stop a job to keep someone from getting hurt? Who is responsible for safety on a day-to-day basis in your company? Do you believe that accidents are preventable? And what is your current company culture? Are you in the swamp, or do you have a traditional safety program? Think about all these things this week, because next week, in the next webinar, we're going to talk about what is your safety culture. And then we're going to talk about developing a vision, mission, goals, and objective statement, and a safety and health policy. And we need to sort of have a feel for all of these things in the back of our mind so that we can move forward in the next step. So, check your emails inbox next week for a link to the next webinar, Module 2, and remember that just 1% improvement per week can pay huge dividends. And with that, I'm going to leave you for today. Hopefully I've given you a lot to think about, and I hope to see you back next week.